Hello everybody, it's your host Quasar and welcome back to another video. Today I want to clear something up, and that is all of the misinformation in Danny's World. Now obviously I can't go over every single piece of misinformation, but I went ahead and started looking around for the most popular misinformation, and basically I'm just here to tell you that's not true, or yes, that is true. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, first and foremost, the most popular bit of misinformation here is that you can buy things to increase main chances. Now, whenever I started first playing Danny's World, I also believed this, and it made total sense, because obviously there should be some way to increase main chances. That is not the case. What buying does is it decreases Dandy's spawning chance to 0. Now, the reason that's important is because Dandy will overrule any other twisted spawn so that he can spawn after long enough has gone. So essentially, yes and no. The reason it increases main twisted chances is because it also increases every other twisted chance, not just the mains. So by doing that, you're effectively making the chance you find a main higher, but also not really. So if you do want to find main tunes, then do buy from Dandy. Just like, you don't have to keep buying from him, because as long as he's not going to spawn on the next floor, you have the highest possible main chance. And while we're talking about main spawning, let's go over all of the items real quick, because that's another huge piece of misinformation. I have seen multiple things being like, don't pick up gumballs, they decrease main chances, or don't touch the Sprout candy bar, protein bar, it decreases the Sprout chance. And it's just so ridiculous to me, because that's not how it works. Items are not connected to the main chance at all. Like, you can pick up and leave whatever items you want. Another thing I found while looking for things like this is that Twisted GG is connected to the item spawning chance. This is not the case. So essentially, I saw that people think that Twisted GG increases your rare item chance, or if you give her a band-aid, she'll give you a medkit. That is not true. It seems like someone was just trying to mislead new players. And allow me to just say something. At this point, there is no way ever that getting hit is a good thing. Like, you never want to let a Twisted go near you at all. That will damage you. So, basically, well, except for Glisten. Twisted Glisten's a different story. We'll go over him later. But pretty much just, yeah, you can mess around with items in any way you want. They don't really affect the main chances, except when buying from Dandy's shop. As long as you buy every, like, 3-4 floors, you'll have the highest possible main chance. So now let's talk about Roger, who for some reason has a ton of misinformation about him. And it's really odd to me, but let's just start. First of all, people think he decreases main chances. Now that is completely false. He has nothing to do with increasing or decreasing main chances, but essentially the reason they're saying this is because they're unlucky when playing as Roger. Most information just comes from people being unlucky and just like, oh, I never found this thing, it doesn't exist, everyone else is lying. That is very common in this fandom, and frankly, it's very sad. So, once more, Roger has no effect on increasing or decreasing the main spawn chances. I said chances at first. Roger does not affect spawn chances. You can use him if you're looking for research. That's literally his point. If he did make main spawn less, it would be ridiculous, because why would you do that for a character that's whole thing is finding the characters you don't have? It's terrible that people would spread this misinformation. Now, as I was saying, there is a lot of misinformation on Roger. We'll get back to that later. But first we have to talk about Sushin. Now this is a word, I don't know the origin of it, but essentially not everyone, just a very large portion of the Dandy's World community believes that for some reason it makes main spawn. Now, it doesn't. It's just a thing people say. You don't have to say Sushin. It honestly doesn't bother people that much if you do, but it's not doing anything. You can choose to believe that if you want. It doesn't though. It's finding mains is just luck. Now back to Roger. Now, as I was saying, misinformation for him is very common, and people think that he is Toodle's father. This makes total sense because there is a piece of the game that literally says that Toodle sees him as a father figure. However, a father figure is very different from an actual father. So, they are not related, but Toodles does see Roger as a father figure. Furthermore, while we're on this topic, one of the most popular ships is Roger and Tegan. Now, the issue here is most people seem to think that it is actually canon. And the whole thing about misinformation is it's not true. So the ship is not canon. It was confirmed by Quevler that no ships are canon. You can headcanon whatever ships you want, though. It honestly doesn't matter as long as you're not rude or weird about it. Now, one of the most important pieces of misinformation that is very sad, and I wish it was true, but you can never and will never be able to get Dandy in the game. Now, it was said by the developers that Dandy is going to be a developer-exclusive toon, and that is true. Us normal players are never going to have access to Dandy unless we hack, which we should not do because you could get banned for hacking. Do you want to get banned? No, you don't. So that's exactly why you won't be hacking, okay? Instead, you'll be subscribing to this YouTube channel because I asked my parents if I could go to Japan. They reasonably said no, as that's expensive. However, if enough people subscribe and watch videos, then I could take them to Japan, and that would be a pretty fun experience. So please do subscribe, and while you're down there, like the video and comment your thoughts so far. Okay, thank you. So, as I was saying, you're never going to have access to Dandy except in roleplay mode. I wish we could play as Dandy. I'm sure it would be fun, but Dandy's whole purpose is to let the developers test how the game's working. So they'll use Dandy, like, I think he has higher health or something, to test to make sure the damage is working properly. We as fans have no clue what Dandy actually does in game though, which is pretty odd. Now, this last bit was very confusing to me because there was a ton of misinformation about this character. I just moved my mic, sorry. And that, of course, is Razzle and Dazzle. More specifically, Twisted Razzle and Dazzle. And there's just like a ton about them that people don't understand. So, instead of listing everything that people don't know, I will list what is true and factual. So, whenever Twisted Razzle and Dazzle is on a floor, they will be sleeping, and they're just going to be in the center of this red ring of what I can only assume is thread. I still have no clue what that is. If you know, go ahead and comment. But essentially what that is, or what it does rather, is if you run well inside that circle, you will get attacked by Razzle and Dazzle. Now, if you're on the other side of a wall or something, you will be safe from the attack. But if someone does run through it and you are there, whoever is the closest and has lowest health will be targeted instead of the person that runs. It's important to think of this attack that they send out as just like a really fast Twisted. When it spawns, it will hunt you down, and unless you're out of the circle or on the other side of a wall to where it can't get you, you will be dealt damage. That is essentially just how Twisted Razzle and Dazzle works. You can touch the red threads, but as long as you don't run in there, you'll be perfectly fine. And the last bit of misinformation I'm going to cover is Twisted Glisten, who, well, just like Twisted Razzle and Dazzle, no one really understands how he works, and then they'll spread misinformation about it. The whole point here is I'm going to clear that up. So, the way Twisted Glisten, I almost said Razzle and Dazzle, the way Twisted Glisten works is he has a meter above his head. Now, what this does is essentially, anytime another toon, like a toon you can play as or one of your teammates, is by Glisten, the meter will lower. And what this does is, well, it just keeps him from staying sane, or keeps him sane. And now, whenever you do finally let that meter fill up all the way, he will go insane and be one of the fastest and strongest Twisteds in the game. He is incredibly fast and has great eyesight, so it's recommended that you keep the meter low and stay away from him. What is also important here is that you never, ever are by him whenever you finish the last machine, because no matter how low the meter is, he will instantly go insane and say something like, "You're leaving me." Anytime you see the yellow text on screen, that is from Glisten. So it'll appear on screen, kind of where Pebble is right now, and it'll just say some generic line like, "Please don't leave me," or "I'm happy to have your company." And pretty much that's how Twisted Glisten works. Keep the meter up, or keep the meter low by staying next to them. If it gets too high, he will kill you. So, yeah, that's the video. Thank you so much for watching. Please have a terrific day. And with all that being said, subscribe. Bye. I always forget this. Thank you to the Bit Maestro for the amazing remixes in the background of my video. Okay, bye. Also, have a good day. Bye.